UFC Fight Night Perth took place this past weekend, and I want to matchmake all the fighters on this card. Starting with the winner of the main event, Carlos Prates. Big CP signed out JDM. It's kind of sad to see. I uh, I love both of these guys. It was cool to see Prates win, but really sad to see JDM go out like that. But I've been seeing online some people saying that JDM should automatically fight for a title. I disagree as much. I would have liked that fight to be kind of a title eliminator. Gary is kind of the next in line. Ian Kakato Gary is next in line, and that he beat Carlos Prates. And from what it sounds like, Islam and Gary might be booked, which sounds so weird to say that Ian Gary is going to fight Islam Makhachev. But since that's happening, I think that Carlos Prates should fight the lady boy Michael Morales. Uh, so this is actually like a great stylistic matchup. As much as I don't want Carlos Prates to fight down, which he'll have to do if he fights Michael Morales, especially like after a performance like that, being the number one contender, JDM, who was just the champ um, a few months ago, like 4 or 5 months ago now. Uh, it would suck for him to fight down, but I think it would be the best overall thing, considering the Gary Islam situation and how that seems like that's going to happen. But great stylistic matchup, two awesome strikers. Uh, the shit talk from Carlos Prates should also be pretty funny, considering what Michael Morales gets down to in his free time. And this is like for both of these guys, like a confirmed title eliminator, not confirmed, but like the closest thing to like a true title eliminator in welterweight, because obviously Bilal is out of the title picture for a while. Um, the JDM, he was the number one contender when Prates fought him this past weekend, but he was coming off of a loss, so you didn't know if it was like gonna count towards a title shot for him if he won. A lot of people thought Prates should get a title shot, including himself, after this fight. But as much as I want CP to just get the immediate title shot, this is like a confirmed title eliminator for both of these guys if this fight gets made. With Morales, I think being the number three contender at welterweight, it would solidify both these guys' positions as the next in line after Ian Gary. So that is why I think Carlos Prates and Michael Morales should fight next as a title eliminator for welterweight. Coming up on the loser of the main event, JDM. Very sad to see, but I think JDM should fight the winner of Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley, which is happening next weekend at UFC 328. This isn't like a this. It might seem weird going from a number one contender fight against Carlos Prates versus the uh, winner of Brady Buckley being basically the number six contender. Maybe they enter the top five, the winner of this fight. But when you think about who's in the top five right now, you've got Ian Gary, uh, seemingly set up to fight Islam. Michael Morales, who they're probably, or if they listen to my master advice, set up to fight Carlos Prates. Bilal, JDM already convincingly beat, so I don't really see a need to run that back. Even though they are both on two fight losing streaks, might be something to consider. But it works. It works out for JDM to get, still in the mid top 10, potentially into stay in the top 5 if he wins a matchup like this and get like one or two wins after this, and he could be set up to get another title shot. I just think after two losses in a row, uh a top 5 opponent isn't really I don't know, like, deserved. And even if it kind of is, because he did so well in his first title fight against Bilal, the only top 5 opponent who I think they would set him up to fight would be Bilal, and I just kind of don't want to see that rematch. So yeah, I think that winner Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley would be a great matchup for JDM in, maybe 4 or 5 months from now. Next up, the winner of our co-main event, Quillen Salkild. Uh, and I think he absolutely deserves a top 10 opponent in his next fight. And I think that top 10 opponent should be Money Moicano. I was kind of torn between uh, Moicano, Dan Hooker, and Matoj Gamrot for the Salkild's next match, but I just feel like um I kind of eliminated Scamrot off rip because it's kind of a large jump, and it I don't want the UFC to push Quillen too far too quickly because he's doing so well, and he's becoming more and more of like a superstar. In like, he's not no longer just famous in like Australia anymore. Uh some of my like friends that I talk to that are not fully like casual UFC fans, but are more like kind of following it. They follow a bunch of fighters, like follow some news accounts, stuff like that. But aren't like super locked in. They know who Quillen Salkild is now. So he's becoming a much bigger star, and because of that, the UFC would want to push him further. And Gamrot is, he's number 7 right now at lightweight, Gamrot, and I just think jumping 5 spots would be a little bit too much too quickly. So that left me with Dan Hooker and Renato Moicano, and I would actually be fine with Dan Hooker as an opponent, a number 8 ranked opponent at lightweight. The only thing with Dan Hooker is that he's on his way out. There's no like getting around that. So uh it like it's not like an impressive top 10 win. And I mean, any top 10 win is impressive, but Dan Hooker would probably be the least impressive of the 3 that I named. And Renato Moicano, even though he is number 9, he's lower than the other two. He, you know, kind of still has it. He's in like an still got it phase of his career, beating Chris Duncan just last month. And he has a really good submission game, which you kind of saw Quillen Salkild's grappling get tested uh, after during this weekend's fight against Benil Dariush. Uh, so it would be interesting to see Quillen have his grappling tested by someone that's uh is still kind of getting wins, with no offense to Benil Dariush. But Renato Moicano is still winning. He just won by submission last month. So it would be good to see Quillen's grappling get tested as he enters the top 10, just so he doesn't get thrown in too deep and he loses and people are like, oh, like, of course he was never going to be like top 10, top 5 material. So I think that Renato Moicano would be a great next step in Quillen Salkild's career to get him into the top 10. So yeah, And moving on to our loser of the co-main event, Benny D. Very sad to see him go out like that. Again, I was there live when BSD caught him in like the first 15 seconds. But I think Benny D should fight Manuel Torres. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of blanked on his name for a second. Uh, but I think that uh, Manuel Torres is like Benil Dariush's last chance to show if he even like has it in him to be in the UFC anymore. Because I don't want to see him like fight some unranked can or like anyone unranked is just a loss for Benil no matter what, because he'll either fight some can or he'll fight some up and coming prospect that just starches him again. And I don't want either of those things. So I think that Manuel Torres, even though it kind of could look like at a glance he would starch Benil Dariush, um, it it's still like a last chance for Dariush to show that he still has it in him to be in the UFC and not just become an unranked journeyman they used to be at the top level. So I think Manuel Torres would be the best possible fight for Benil moving forward. Going back to Steve Asig, Bedtime MMA, put on kind of a masterclass low key against Tim Elliott. And I think the best fight for Steve Urseg in flyweight would be Amir Albazi. And uh, this is because, you know, he, Steve Urseg was basically he was in the position that he's in right now when he was about to fight or when he was fighting Pantoja. I'm pretty sure Steve Urseg wasn't even in the top 10 when he fought Pantoja for the title. I think he was number 11, which is probably what he's getting moved up to when the rankings get changed on Tuesday. So I, as close as that fight was, I don't want Urseg to fall into the same trap twice of getting thrown into the lion's den with a top five opponent like that. Because honestly, at this point, all of the top five are going to be really like it's going to be really tough competition for Steve Ursig. Where like at the time back in 2024 when he fought Pantoja 2 years ago, uh, he fought for that title because there was no like competition in flyweight, and there's just so much more of it now. So I think Amir Albazi is, he would still jump up 4 spots with a win against Amir Albazi, but it's not the tough, like ultra high level competition that is in the top five right now because it's been a rough 2 years for Steve Urseg after his fight with Pantoja. So I think throwing in the top five with Kyoji Horiguchi, Tatsuro Taira, Manel Kopp, like that's a crazy jump from a win against Tim Elliott. And Amir Albazi, he's still in the top 10, but he is coming off of some losses. So I think it's just again much like with what I'm saying with Quillen Salkild, like needs to kind of ease his way into the top 10. I think Steve Urseg should ease his way back into the top level of flyweight rather than jump 9 spots 8 spots to try and get back into the title picture. Just ease his way back in. Next up, our loser of that match, Tim Elliott. And, Tim Elliott, it's weird with him because he seems washed, but at the same time, he's kind of not. Like, he beat Kai Asakura, who is a fraud, but if you see his highlights from Rising, like, he's definitely not bad either. So like the way Kai Sakura was hyped up, this is like kind of off topic, the way kind of Kai Sakura was hyped up, you it's like when you see a pit bull that's named like Destroyer of Worlds and it's like the sweetest dog ever. That's basically Kai Asakura. Um so, but Tim Elliott put him away, submitted him, but I don't I think he should be given one more chance to stay in the rankings, and I think that last chance should be Tairo Umbekov. Uh, Tairo Umbekov also coming off of a loss to Kyoji Horiguchi. It's not a bad loss. Kyoji Horiguchi is really good, but these two guys these guys are both on one fight losing streaks now, and I think it is a good test for both of them. It's like a washed up test for Tim Elliott. Be like, all right, you still belong in the rankings. And for Kyoji, Tairo Umbekov, we're not even still on the rankings. He'll probably stay in the rankings even after a loss from Umbekov. More like a, do you still belong at the upper level of flyweight? Um, and hovering around the top 10 type thing. And for Ulanbekov, it is a uh, good test to see if he actually belongs in the rankings, period. Because Ulanbekov is 34 now. He's not young, and if he wants to actually move up, he's coming off of a loss to I think it's like no, he's coming off a loss to Kyoji Horiguchi, my bad. So but he's beating before his loss, he was beating guys like Clayton Carpenter, um, and someone else. But who was it, dude? Someone unranked. So like they're not ultra impressive wins. So if he wants to prove that he belongs in the rankings at flyweight and wants to make like a run for the title, he's kind of gotta like show it. And I think Tim Elliott would be a good test to be like, Tim Elliott's not bad. He's not washed up, at least not yet, despite his age. So I think this would be a great fight for both guys. Now we're moving on to Marwan Freaky Rahiki, and he put on a sick performance yesterday. And I think that I don't think you deserve a ranked opponent for beating Ali Schmid, who made his debut and is now 4-3. I don't think you deserve a ranked opponent for that, but I do think he should fight another guy who is uh up and coming, undefeated in the UFC. And I think Luke Riley is a perfect matchup for him. Both of these guys are um, early in their careers, young, and they're both kind of like tearing shit up at featherweight in the unranked featherweight division at least. And I think the uh this is kind of I guess the right word would be like ranked eliminator, where the winner of this fight could get a shot at a ranked opponent like um hmm, trying to see. I'm trying to think about like who would be a decent opponent for these guys to fight at featherweight. You know what? I think the just came to my mind. The winner of this fight could fight like Brian Ortega to get ranked and start making their way through the upper level, upper echelon of featherweight. But these guys are both really good. It'd be a really competitive fight, and it'd be awesome to see which of these guys uh would be like the next to take a shot at getting ranked. So yeah, I think Marwan Rahiki should fight Luke Riley. It'd be a great fight. Next, we're going to Oliver Schmid. Um, who let this guy make his debut? Who at 4-2, and I haven't watched any of his regional fights. Maybe I should see what made him deserving of uh being allowed to make a UFC debut at 4-2. But I think Ali Schmid should fight this little rat, Curtis Campbell. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. The way they were hyping up Curtis Campbell for him to just suck was so funny. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Uh, but I think Ali Schmid. He probably has a 3-fight contract with the UFC. Uh, neither of these guys have won a UFC fight. Um, and I don't know. I think it's just like this is kind of a test to see if either of these guys should be in the UFC because right now for both of them, the answer is no, and it this could be a chance for these guys to show something. Um, I don't know if Curtis Campbell fight trains at Next Gen with like Patty and Luke Riley and all that, but if he does, he is by far the worst guy in the UFC at Next Gen right now. But that could change. So yeah, I just think both of these guys desperately need to show why they belong in the UFC. So I guess have them both fight each other. Moving on to Shamil the Meal. I think Shamil should fight Thomas Peterson. Um, you know, Shamil isn't bad. He was tanking hits uh from Brando Pericic, but I just think that before you get another ranked opponent, you need to like actually get a win. Um, so I think Thomas Peterson would be good. Thomas Peterson's unranked, but probably wants to get ranked, and I'd say Shamil will be demoted to like 15 at heavyweight after once the rankings change on Tuesday. So uh yeah, so it'll be like a chance for Thomas Peterson to enter the rankings and a chance for Shamil to retain gatekeeper status. So yeah, there's not really much to talk about with these two. As you move down the main card, there's like less and less to talk about. Um Besides from one guy that I'll get to in a few minutes. Um so yeah, Shamil, Thomas Peterson, I think that's a pretty good matchup. Moving on to our winner of that fight, Brando Pericic. Um I think that Brando should fight Ante Delija. Um, it Brando Pericic is like a monster at uh heavyweight, or it looks like he's going to be a monster at heavyweight. So I think that instead of just putting him against like another absolute blob, which is basically ranks 15 through 11 in the heavyweight top 15, um, he could go against someone that's like not, he's not great. Ante Delija is not great. He lost to Spivak and Salsa Boy, Waldo Cortez Acosta, but he's not a blob, which there's a lot to be said for that with the current state of the heavyweight division. Um, so I think that you beat Shamil, but Shamil's like just looking at Shamil makes you like question the legitimacy of the UFC. So him fighting a guy like Ante Delija, which will get him into the top 10, it's definitely a win. While it's like it won't be great because Ante Delija is on a 2-fight losing streak, it is a it's a good win that'll get him into the top 10, and we'll have him fighting guys like Curtis Blades next, Sergey Spivak, get him into that stage of the heavyweight rankings. Moving on, Tai Tuivasa. I believe it's an 8-fight losing streak we're on. Uh, you know, who would have saw it coming after he got the jujitsu tattoo? Um, though I am convinced he's never trained grappling a day in his life. Uh, I think that Tai Tuivasa should fight Sean Sharaf, Tapology's lowest ranked heavyweight, and the only fighter below him that that is on more than a 1-fight losing streak. Um Honestly, I didn't even want to matchmake Tai Tuivasa because I think he should be cut from the UFC, but uh just for the fun of it, because I don't think the UFC is going to cut him. I think that Tai Tuivasa as an absolute last chance for him, uh Sean Sharaf. Which I mean, if if I was Dana White, not even Dana White, if I was Hunter Campbell, because we know Dana White's not really running things anymore, I would uh completely I would have cut him 3 fights ago. But for some reason this guy keeps getting second chance after third chance after fourth chance after eighth chance, and he keeps messing it up. Like, I just don't understand how you lose to Louis Sutherland. And not even that, get literally like held down, get Dagestani wrestled by Louis Sutherland. But I'll get to Louis Sutherland in a second. But the UFC loves keeping this guy around. And I guess, you know, if on Tuesday there's not like an announcement of him getting cut, or if I check Twitter and I don't see UFC roster watch confirm that Tai Tuivasa was cut, like I'll just be flabbergasted. But I think the only match to make if he does stay on the UFC is Sean Sharaf. He's 0-2 in the UFC. He's probably like he's the only matchup left for this guy, quite honestly. I'm ranting a little bit about Tai Tuivasa. But I don't know how this guy hasn't blobbed his way into the PFL yet, or even like worse, on a regional promotion. So I just don't know how this guy is still here, but it looks like the UFC doesn't want to not keep him around. Like they wanted to stay. It seems like it's not even seems like they desperately want him to stay in the UFC. But at what point you have to ask, at what point do you just stop and cut him and stop paying him for losing 8 fights in a row? But if they're gonna give him one last chance, I think Sean Sharaf should be his last chance. Moving on, our last member of the main card that we're covering, Louis Sutherland out-grappled and outstruck Tai Tuivasa in the year of our Lord 2026. Um, I'm pretty sure before Tapology changed their rankings earlier today, Louis Sutherland was the lowest ranked heavyweight, and he beat Tai Tuivasa. So I and because this, Tai Tuivasa, he was pretty recently ranked. I'm pretty sure he was ranked when he fought Talison Teixeira, and I'm pretty sure he popped back into the rankings briefly within the last couple months. So I'll be nice to Louis Sutherland, um, and uh, give him an opponent that, if he beats, will make him deserving of a ranked opponent. I'm not going to give him a ranked opponent. If you beat Tai Tuivasa, you don't deserve a ranked opponent like that. But I'll feed him to Vitor Petrino, uh, who is absolutely shredded and will most definitely maul Louis Sutherland. But just being nice. You're coming off of a win against a opponent that was ranked not very long ago. So give him Vitor Petrino, or give Vitor Petrino Louis Sutherland. And if by some stroke of like biblical luck, by some divine intervention, Louis Sutherland beats Vitor Petrino, then he can fight a ranked opponent. Which, if Louis Sutherland makes like a heavyweight title run, I think the UFC would just have to eliminate the heavyweight division and send all of these guys back to the regional promotions, because it would just show that heavyweights in the modern day have no skill. If Louis Sutherland made it to like the top 10 or something like that, like the UFC was gonna get rid of the flyweight division when Demetrius Johnson was running through it. Like, Demetrius Johnson is one of the most skilled fighters to ever live, and Dana almost got rid of flyweight. So if Louis Sutherland, one of the most unskilled fighters I've ever seen, uh makes like a heavyweight title run, I think it would just Dana would just be doing everyone a favor by just destroying this division and never speaking of it again. But that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe. Comment what you thought of this matchmaking, and I'll have more videos coming this week. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.